on paper, this result looks good. And I think on the field, the result certainly at times looked really good and really, really interesting in terms of the way that the U.S. went about this game. All right, first off, starting 11. In goal, Matt Turner, and really Pochettino kind of rolled it back from the first game, the away game. Robinson on the left-hand side, Tim Ream and McKenzie continuing in that center of the back four. Scally continuing on the right-hand side. Tessman again getting a start. Weston McKennie there. Then the interesting thing was up top and with the attacking types of players. Pulisic moves inside into a more central type of role. Weah, who for years now we have seen him patrol that right-hand side and coming back from his suspension, goes to the left-hand side. And Mosse, at least in the starting 11 that we saw on paper, went back to that now right-hand side that he has occupied over the last few games. Pepe continues on. We know he scored in the away game and now continues on here tonight as the starter up top. First, I'll go to you, Mosse. Anything right off the bat when the 11 came out that piqued your interest?
Well, as you mentioned, the way you just went over it was how it was drawn up. But we're finding that Mauricio Pochettino's formations are very fluid. The most interesting wrinkle for me tonight was how much time Anthony Robinson spent in the middle of the field. He kept drifting over there with different players occupying his space at left back, including Christian Pulisic at times in the first half felt like a left back. So it's very interesting. And he was doing all this under the watchful eye of Greg Berhalter and Bruce Arena. So maybe Pochettino wanted to flex his tactical muscles a little bit. But yeah, we're going to have to get used to the fact that once the game starts, figuring out what formation the U.S. is actually in is going to be an interesting exercise under Pochettino. Well,
let's slow our roll just for a second here, because it always has to be, I think, said when you are playing the opposition. You only play what's in front of you. We are playing a Jamaica team, also a Jamaican team that was depleted because of passport issues. So when Jedi Robinson basically gets carte blanche to go wherever he wants, and he does that, to your point, Mosse, he showed up in all sorts of strange areas that traditionally you would never see a left back, albeit a left back that certainly pushes forward, occupy. Now, when he was there, I kept thinking to myself, what if they were playing a better team? First off, would Pochettino have done it against a better team? Secondly, if he had done it against a better team, would they have sussed it out immediately and caused problems? Because there was a time where we were not playing with anybody in that left-hand side. Stu, let's go right to that, because I think when it first showed up on the field, that was something that caught everybody's attention.
It did, because I think typically we've seen Anthony Robinson, if you think about his skill set and what makes him so good, it's his ability to get up and down the left-hand side with speed, physical capacity that's the best on the team by a long shot. So he can run up and down. He used to basically think that the left side was all Anthony Robinson. What I'll counter with you, Lex, is that this isn't just, I think, wanting to see Anthony Robinson in the middle of the field. I think it was also a recognition that Jamaica's best player, Leon Bailey, was the right winger. So all of a sudden, if you bring Anthony Robinson inside and Bailey doesn't want to defend him because he doesn't, and he wants to try to hang out there and attack the space, you force their best attacking player into a decision defensively. If he doesn't go with him, which he didn't, then Robinson had so much time and space. He ran the game at times in the middle of the field, and then Bailey was caught between, do I defend, do I attack? And really, Bailey's only effective when Jamaica have the ball. They didn't have the ball because the U.S. had an extra man in midfield and were so effective. So I thought this was a genius move by Mauricio Pochettino. It allowed Pulisic to go wide, to come inside. Tim Weah then playing on the left. He wanted to come onto his right-hand side, and I thought that he was just good all game long. And we'd only really seen Tim Weah as a right winger for Greg Berhalter, so it was nice to see him inverted at times, even though really he didn't have the overlapping run of Anthony Robinson. But to your point, I do agree. This was a weaker opponent. This is not the Jamaica we'd started to see over maybe a cycle ago, and they really didn't test the U.S. until the second half. The game opened up a little. I think Pochettino will be a little disappointed with some of the goals they conceded.
Yeah, so when this 11 came out, I continue to feel that Tim Ream in the back, if he is not being looked at from Pochettino as a real starter and a possibility for 2026, then I don't want to see him on the field. And yet he continues to get the start. I know it's in his home town and all that kind of stuff, but again, he gets that start. As I've said before, I don't think that Scally and McKenzie are great players. I think they're passable, but passable is not something that we need in order to be successful in 2026. And I'll talk a little bit more about perspective, because we see these games now and our eyes are to 2026. At least that's how I'm watching it. Weston McKennie still was a force here. You cannot convince me again that Mosse is a wide player. I just think, and even at times tonight, especially in that second half, you saw him get in that midfield. So don't try to convince me there. Up top, Pepe. I'm interested in and we're going to talk a little bit more about Pepe later on, but I'm interested in now 2 goals in both of the games that he has started. We know he's not starting a lot over in Europe, but he's come in with an eye to 2026. How did you think he played, not just tonight, but over the course of this window here? And is he now taking that spot, Mosse?
Yeah, I think he's one of the big winners of this window, scoring in both games, and his movements open up space for other players. I know we're going to talk about his club future in the Ask Alexi segment, but at the international level, I think he really grew in influence here, with obviously taking advantage of Balogun and Sargent being out. Conversely, Brandon Vasquez came on and missed some easy chances. So certainly between those two, Pepe's stock, I would say, is much higher right now.
Stu, just quick thoughts on Pepe before we'll talk about him later, but go ahead.
No, I've been super impressed with Ricardo Pepi over the last 2 games especially, and then even going back, he's starting to pick up a bit of form again at the club level. And look, he's come out publicly and said, I don't want to be a super sub. I don't want to be labeled a super sub. Well, the only way to change that narrative is to play well enough to be in the starting lineup. And he's behind a talented player in Luke de Jong at his club level, so that was a challenge. But yet when he was on the field, he scored goals. For the national team, it was always either Balogun or Sargent or anybody but Pepe post the qualifying cycle. But he's done everything he can in his moments on the field. It's not just his finishing. We know he's a good finisher, but his hold-up play has been really good too, dropping underneath the center backs, creating space for players to run in behind him. And I think he has a lot of the tools, clearly, that Mauricio Pochettino values in a number 9. Number 1 is going to be always, can you put the ball in the back of the net? Like you rightly always say, that's the hardest thing to do in the game. He's done that effectively. But the other parts of his game, the pressing, that's improved. And I think getting some direction from Pochettino has been important to understand the way that they want this team to play, which, again, Anthony Robinson in the middle of the field, when the ball turned over, he was the first one there winning the ball back. So pretty impressive for the United States, especially that first 45 minutes was almost flawless.
Yeah, so Pepe gets his goal, Weah gets his goal, Pulisic with 2. I mean, the Pulisic first goal, that was in the air a long time, and there was a lot of calculation that you could see going through, and he took it wonderful with his left foot. That takes a lot of concentration and obviously a lot of skill. The celebration, the goal that created a million memes or gifs out there, with the Trump dance and everything. That it was interesting that they didn't show that in the highlight on, if you're watching it on Max or TNT out there. But I'm sure that is going around. The internet says they say right now. But I thought, just from a pure soccer perspective, it was wonderful the way that they created that goal. And obviously the ball from Weston over the top and the timing. And then the skill to pick it out of the air. I thought Christian Pulisic tonight was wonderful, and not just scoring the goals, to your point, showing up in different places. And there was just a little something different in the way that they played. And again, you got to be realistic because of the opponent and who they are. And you have to wonder, could they have done these same things against a much better type of opponent? But again, I think Pochettino is using every opportunity he has to kind of try out some different things, to have that in his arsenal, so that when 2026 comes about, he has as many different looks, formation-wise, personnel-wise, in his back pocket to make the proper assessment. Anything else stand out to you, Mosse, when it comes to this game?
Well, just on Pulisic, I'm not sure I agree with him being awarded that second goal. To me, that should have been an own goal. But nevertheless, he is creeping up on our good friend Eric Ronaldo on the U.S.'s all-time scoring list. That's the next player he's going to surpass. We'll see how Eric reacts to that. But yeah, Pulisic, McKennie, who assisted both goals, and Anthony Robinson, they look and feel like the 3 best players on this team. They just play with a confidence that it really comes across. And another player who I think was one of the big winners in this window is Tanner Tessman. I love his game. To me, he's ahead of Johnny right now in that number 6 pecking order. I just love his passing. He moves the ball around so crisply. His defensive positioning is good. So to me, he's another player that impressed me in these 2 games that I think probably scored a lot of points with Pochettino.
Yeah, Mosse, we had him on our list at Mallorca many years ago, and we weren't able to get a jump on him before he went to Europe. I'm a big fan of Tessman. I'm with you. I just think that he's got the skill set. He's got the size. He's got the passing ability, left and right foot. He's got the range to get around the field. He needs to keep playing games at a high level, but you can already see his levels improved over the past, couple of months since being in League One. I want to also point out the way in which we scored the goals. So we talked a lot about the U.S. in possession. Goodness, I remember the Nations League semifinal the last time they played Jamaica. We all went to the game, Lex, down in AT&T Stadium, and Jamaica just bunkered in front of the goal. U.S. couldn't find a way to score. Jamaica had scored an early goal in that game. The difference, though, I felt today, especially, it was a different game. It's a different lineup, different circumstance, but it was... when Jamaica attacked, how quickly the U.S., when the ball turned over. I remember there was one moment, I wrote it down, I think it was the 23rd minute. Mauricio Pochettino's up on the sideline on the bench, and he's screaming, forward, forward, forward. He wanted any time that Jamaica was out of defensive shape for his team to play forward passes, quick transitions, knowing what the U.S. are capable of with the speed of Weah, McKennie, Pepe, Pulisic, and those goals, guys, I've watched them back a couple of times already. They showed it on the broadcast and again online. Just beautiful finishes, 1-2 touch passing, runners off the ball, cutback ball. Even to your point, Mosse, Tessman was at the heart of the second Pulisic goal with even the pass that initially opened up the play, but then even the awareness to dummy the ball to let it run through his legs, and Pulisic finished it off. So as nice of start to finish goals I've seen from the U.S. in a while, actually.
All right, so this was not only kind of an assessment of these players and this team, but this was also a continual assessment of Pochettino, especially in a competitive environment here. So if we're grading Pochettino relative to this window, because, look, job done when it comes to the actual results that they got, job done when it comes to the tournament that is Nations League and advancing, which is important. And I also think job done in terms of providing some different looks and doing some interesting things that get us thinking about possibilities going forward. So I'm going to give him a solid B+ for the window. Mosse, what are you giving him?
Yeah, I agree. B+, A-. The only issue for me is at center back, because I agree with you, Lex. That's a problem area for me, and he hasn't done anything so far to really address that. He's playing the same guys that Berhalter played, and the Tim Ream one is a bit of a head scratcher given his age and his prospects for being around in 2026. So the only issue I have with Pochettino right now is I think at some point he's going to have to really address that center back position to figure out, because the few times that Jamaica actually pushed forward tonight, they had some success. They scored 2 goals in the second half. So I think there still are some question marks there for sure.
Stu, what do you give him?
Yeah, I'm just not sure what to make of the center back position, guys, because look, he's made Tim Ream the captain as well, even in the last game. And so I don't think that Pochettino feels that Ream's out of the picture for 26. I just don't. And he's going to be, I think, 38 by the time the World Cup, maybe 39 by the time the World Cup rolls around. I don't think that should be our starter. And I'm not making a direct comparison here, so don't blow up the internet when I compare Pepe to Tim Ream, but we did just see some older, experienced center backs playing well in the Euro. So I do believe that Ream could have a role to play, but I'm not entirely confident that should be a starting center back out of a back 2 if we're playing with 2 center backs, even though we really defend with 3 so far under Pochettino when we transition. But to me, that also is sending a message to the rest of the pool. It's like, hey, guys, let's go. You want to play in this team? This is the best guy right now. This is not a development pool. This is the national team. You develop at your club. I can help you along the way when you're in camp, but get on the field, make an impact, and show me that you're a level that's better than Tim Ream. If not, Tim Ream's going to start. And it doesn't fill me with confidence, McKenzie and Ream, against some of the best teams in the world, I'll be honest, but I think still Tim Ream's our best center back. And that says a lot about the pool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, is that it says a lot, and that if we show up in 2026, and as good as Tim Ream is, and we all love him, but if if you had told me that in 2026 we would be looking to start Tim Ream for the United States men's national team in this World Cup at home, I would have said, well, we've screwed up somewhere along the line. And I know that's not the nicest way to talk about Tim Ream, but that's just the reality. And I guess Tim Ream's a smart guy too. He would probably say the same thing. And, he has taken this opportunity and he's been given great performances over the years. And if he is the best that we got, is that enough? And you could say that for a lot of people. Mosse, to your point, when it comes to the center back position right now, I still think that there's a goalkeeping situation with Matt Turner. So there's a competition going on there. There's a center back question when it comes to the center back. We don't know if Sergiño Dest is going to get back from that right back position going forward. I think that, Gio Reyna might have a say to this come sometime in the future, and certainly Tyler Adams will come back at a certain point. So those are good problems to have. Those are champagne problems to have. But I still think up top when it comes to Pepe and that number 9's position, I know we got, Sargent waiting in the wings and Balogun waiting in the wings. I still think there's a competition there. Stu, you didn't give a grade. Mosse, you give an A-. I give a B+. What do you got?
I'll go an A-.
You got an A-.
All right. Yeah, look, clean sheet on the road was almost as under the circumstance. I know they're a little fortunate at the end, but
that's all right. Yeah,
we haven't won in Jamaica many times, and even on the road in CONCACAF under Berhalter. So
I'm a hard grader, though. I'm one of those teachers that you got where you got to really fight for it.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.